of how many people are out there in our world that are searching and are seeking, even if they don't always outwardly express it or they don't know what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
But it's much more accessible for them to find today, or
Mm-hmm.
to come into contact with, or to check one of those things out of curiosity. Even going back to, we can transition this over to the DEI stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I held a talking circle, special talking circle the other day. Yes, was it yesterday?
Couple days ago.
2 days ago, on
Mm-hmm.
just on Zoom with students and faculty from the social work department, because I'd been hearing people stressed out, people carrying fear, people carrying. A lot of my students were carrying a lot of weight over the things that are going down, and a lot of people were confused. And we had a really good turnout, and there was a lot of the stuff that I'm looking for as far as people sharing their perspective, and so it was great in that way. But another thing that was very inspiring was that there were, like, I don't know, 7 or 8 students that showed up, that when it came their turn to talk in the talking circle, they just essentially, without breaking confidentiality or anything, they just essentially said, I don't have that much to say. I'm here because my whole family thinks the opposite of this, basically, of what we're talking about in here, or that I have been thinking about these things, but I really don't understand. And so I really just wanted to hear everyone's perspectives. And that there's a ton of value in that, and to be able to hear a diverse group of characters share their ideas, their perspectives, the weight that they're carrying. And that's how we really, that's one of the ways that we can really transform our consciousness, or elevate it, or whatever, get out of that thing that we've been stuck in, and with the American culture, the American way of things.
Mm.
And so that gives me hope too. But on the other end, it's just been like negative thing after negative thing at our university. From the first executive order that came through,
Mm-hmm.
we received a letter. I can't even remember who the secretary was from, but somebody at the federal level, basically saying that, hey, you can't do any of this stuff anymore. You got to shut it all down within the next 14 days. Here's a tattletale snitch hotline, all this stuff. And then after that, we got another, which I thought came from at first I thought it came from the federal level again, but come to find out, our board of regents at the University of Alaska system, voted unanimously, minus one person that was absent, and the student voted against it. But basically, they voted to have everything affiliated with the university, every program, every department, had to remove any indication or any suggestion, connection to the words diversity, equity, and inclusion from all websites, all printed material. Then we started getting individual emails. You have to take this down. You have to take this down. You have to do this specifically. And it's also hard because it's in direct contrast with what our accreditation, the CSW, the Council for Social Work Education, they're using this language in our own accrediting measures. So we just basically told them we're not going to do it now. But it's escalating further than I thought.
Yeah.
I didn't really see it coming. And I don't think I'd been in a position like this to really evaluate it in past, changes. I really can't speak for what would have happened the first time Trump came into office, because I was in a different world at that point. But I would say that it seems like they're just much more organized and ready to go and ready to deliver on things. And I'm really surprised. I was really surprised at how much our university amplified that. They didn't have to do those things. They actually just amplified it. And in some ways, I think it doesn't affect me so much. I'm a white guy professor, and I'm going to do me anyways. They really don't have a way to go into my curriculum or the way I do things. But based on the way my students have been responding, and just the sentiment I get from everybody that I'm in contact with, is that people are carrying a lot of weight right now, and there's a lot of fear and a lot of anger. I think, and some people have fear over what might happen, but there's also I don't know, fear, anxiety, anger over what I hear a lot of folks say is things are being undone. A lot of work, a lot of progress is being taken back, and just acted like it's like it never existed. And I don't quite feel that strongly yet. And I have a lot of confidence in the way that we are be able to respond as we move forward. But on the other hand, I underestimated the Trump administration and the way other folks like the university, and I'm sure there's many examples across the country, have responded.
Yeah.
And have you seen it at your work?
No, there's a lot of kind of fear of federal funding being gone and what that will look like. But the way that we've been going about it is just continue doing what you're doing, helping people, serving people. helping people heal, and we'll figure it out. But what is coming out is a lot of anxiety, anger, and fear in the people I work with and my coworkers. And I do wonder how we go forth with in unity and not letting that fear and stress affect us and our work. But then what do we do with the anger, that energy that builds up? Like, where do we put that? Where does that go? And someone asked me the other day, how do you stay so calm with everything going on? And how do you keep your energy so light, essentially? And I said it's hard. I mean, I have a very deep personal spiritual practice and yoga practice, and that helps a lot, but also being strategic of where my energy goes. Like, what am I consuming from social media, from the news, and how much of that creates this anger and fear? And some of it is valid and some of it is exaggerated and we unnecessary for us to consume on a daily basis. And then being strategic about what can I act on right now? I can't act on every single thing every single day, but what can I act on? Where can I make change? What conversations can I have like these that maybe does help somebody feel either supported, that we're going through it all together, or make someone think differently, or make someone want to change something? So I think it's just strategic about what we do with that energy. What are we consuming and where are we putting our energy? But I do wonder what your thoughts are with how do we manage that anger and fear and anxiety, and what do we do with it?
Well, one way is just to be aware of what it is. And one of the things I always say to people in different contexts is feet on the ground. Always, as much as we can, have our feet on the ground. And that just means connected to something strong and literally that loves us. The earth loves us. The earth wants every being on its back, on her skin, to have all the things that we need. The earth is abundant. The problems that we have come from people absconding with certain systems that help to distribute the things that we need, whether it be food or materials for housing or whatever it might be. So having our feet on the ground helps us to understand what is and to sense our own bodies, to be aware of our anger, to know where it's coming from, to not be afraid of it. And I think one of the things that we should be wary of us is having people tell us that our anger is too much. Women get told that all the time, particularly Black women, African women, Black people, people of color, BIPOC folk. Your anger becomes weaponized against us. I think it was a book called Killing Rage. That's very important. I think it was Bell Hooks. I feel a little embarrassed that I'm not exactly sure who wrote that book, but I thought it was Bell Hooks. But about anger and how that lives in us and how we express it. But, to be aware of these emotions, to consider the source, to consider how we sit with them, how they move through us, and how we can use anger as a force, and I don't know a whole lot of martial arts, but in my mind, I'm having this kind of Avatar, the airbender, image come as we channel energy. What are we channeling it toward? Is our anger coming out against our loved ones, against our children, even against the earth itself? Are we now trying to soothe ourselves through commercialism? And let me tell you, I've made a few purchases from Wish.com and Temu because I wanted to feel better. I'm just going to say that out loud. I own that. I got a shipment coming to me right now. But I'm just saying that how do we hold these emotions of lack, of loss, of fear, of anger, and where do we put them? The Dagara system helps us understand the power of ritual, the power of talking about these things with our ancestors, asking our ancestors to help us. How many times have we sat in circle in ritual and just belted out to the ancestors, damn it, we need help with destroying this system of patriarchy and racism and colonialism, and held that in such a way that, our voices are raised. And one of the things I was taught is that, we don't have, in the Dagara tradition, we don't have this kind of solemn, and I was brought up as Catholic. So we, Roman Catholic. So we have this, kind of solemn things. We ask for this, we ask for that. Oh, please give us this. But when we relate to our ancestors in the Dagara way, it's like, damn, come on, we need some help with this. Get on it. Where, we don't perceive our dead, our ancestors as being, in, eternal rest, and they're just sitting up somewhere on some cloud. playing some, harp. They are at work. They are working to help guide energies and to give us information. And they have felt these things before.